A small hand tugged at Sienna's sleeve. She looked down. A little girl with tangled curls and wide, searching eyes stared up at her. Clutched against her chest was a stuffed rabbit, worn soft from years of love. "Are you gonna be my new mommy?" Sienna's breath caught. Across the living room, Grayson Cole stood frozen. His jaw was tight. His hands were shoved deep in his pockets like he was physically restraining himself from speaking. The little girl, Lily, tugged again, softer this time, almost afraid. "Daddy said you might stay forever." Sienna opened her mouth. Nothing came out. This wasn't supposed to happen. The deal was simple. Pretend for 1 week, don't ask questions, and whatever happens, don't fall in love with his daughter. She was already failing. 72 hours earlier. The eviction notice sat crumpled beside Sienna's coffee cup. Mercer's diner was nearly empty, just her, the hum of fluorescent lights, and the smell of burnt toast. She'd been working doubles here for 3 months. It still wasn't enough. The bell above the door chimed. A man walked in, tall, dark hair pushed back like he'd been running his hands through it all day. He wore exhaustion like a second skin. He slid into the booth across from her. Sienna blinked. "We're closed." "I'm not here for the food." She reached for the coffee pot anyway. Habit. "Then what?" He placed his hands flat on the table. Working hands. A scratch across one knuckle. No wedding ring. "I have a proposition." Sienna almost laughed. "Yeah, I've heard that one before. The answer's no." "It's not that kind of proposition." Something in his voice made her stop. He wasn't slick. He wasn't charming. He looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. "My name is Grayson Cole. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I'm about to lose her." Sienna set the pot down slowly. He explained. An ex-wife who vanished 2 years ago. Now she was back, engaged to someone powerful, suddenly desperate for custody. A social worker arriving in 5 days. A house that looked fine, but felt empty in all the wrong places. "I need someone to pretend," Grayson said, "just for a week, just long enough to make it look like Lily has something she doesn't." "Which is?" "A mother." Sienna exhaled. "Why me? You don't even know me." Grayson held her gaze. His voice dropped low. "Because my daughter hasn't smiled at a stranger in 6 months. But last Tuesday, you gave her extra whipped cream on her hot chocolate without her asking." He paused. "She talked about you for 3 days." Sienna remembered. The quiet little girl in the corner booth, the rabbit clutched under her arm. She hadn't smiled, but she'd looked at Sienna like she wanted to. "1 week," Grayson said. "Then you walk away. I'll make it worth your while." Sienna stared at the eviction notice, then back at him. "And if I say no?" Grayson didn't flinch. "Then I lose the only thing I've ever done right." Sienna laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé for a social worker to help you win a custody battle." She shook her head. "This is a Lifetime movie. This isn't real life." Grayson didn't smile. He reached into his jacket and slid an envelope across the table. Sienna didn't touch it. "What's that?" "Open it." She did. Her heart stopped. Cash. Enough to cover 3 months' rent. Maybe more. "Where did you—" "Sold my truck last week," Grayson said flatly. "I take the bus now. Lily thinks it's an adventure." Sienna stared at him. He'd sold his vehicle for this. For her. A stranger. "Who does that?" she whispered. "A desperate man." She set the envelope down. Her hands were trembling slightly. "Tell me about her, the ex." Grayson's expression flickered, something dark and tired. "Victoria. We were married for 4 years. She left when Lily was 2. He paused. "Didn't say goodbye. Didn't leave a note.
Lily waited by the window for 3 weeks, every day, asking when Mommy was coming home. Sienna felt her chest tightened. And now she wants custody? Now she's engaged to a man running for city council, family values, photo ops. She needs a daughter to complete the picture. His voice turned bitter. Lily isn't her child. She's a prop. Can't you fight it? With what? I work construction. She has lawyers I can't afford to look at. The only thing I have is this house and whatever stability I can fake for 5 days. Sienna was quiet for a long moment. Then, what's the catch? Grayson leaned forward, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. There's one condition. She waited. Don't fall in love with my daughter. Sienna blinked. What? When this ends, you leave. No lingering, no drawn-out goodbyes. She's already had one woman disappear on her. I won't let it happen twice. His voice cracked on the last word, just barely, but she heard it. You walk away clean, like you were never there. That's the deal. Sienna should have said no, should have slid the envelope back and walked out. Instead, she heard herself ask, "Can I see her? A picture?" Grayson hesitated, then pulled out his phone. The screen glowed between them. A little girl with messy curls, serious eyes. She wasn't smiling in the photo, just staring at the camera like she was waiting for someone to disappoint her. In her arms, a stuffed rabbit. Something old and wounded stirred in Sienna's chest, a memory she'd buried deep. She closed her eyes. 1 week, she said quietly. Then I'm gone. Grayson exhaled. 1 week. But even as she said it, Sienna knew some promises were impossible to keep.
The house wasn't what Sienna expected. No mansion, no pristine lawn, just a modest 2-story with chipped paint on the shutters and a basketball hoop in the driveway that had seen better days. But inside, it was warm. Crayon drawings covered the refrigerator. Toys sat in organized bins. A worn couch held the indent of 1,000 bedtime stories. This was a home, a real one. Grayson set her bag by the stairs. Guest rooms up here, bathrooms at the end of the hall. Sienna nodded, taking it all in. Then she heard it, a soft shuffle. She turned. Lily stood at the edge of the living room, half hidden behind the couch. Her stuffed rabbit, Bun Bun, was clutched tight against her chest. Sienna crouched down slowly, smiled. "Hi, Lily. I'm Sienna. Do you remember me?" Lily didn't answer, just stared with those enormous, cautious eyes. Grayson's voice was gentle. "She doesn't talk much anymore. Not since—" He didn't finish. Sienna nodded. She didn't push. "That's okay," she said softly, still looking at Lily. "You don't have to say anything. We can just be quiet together." Something flickered in Lily's expression. Not quite trust, but not fear either. Progress. That night, the logistics were awkward. "I'll take the couch," Grayson said, setting down a pillow. "I'm supposed to be your fiancé. Won't that look suspicious if someone stops by?" "We'll say I snore." A ghost of smile crossed his face. "Besides, you're doing me the favor. Least I can do is give you an actual bed." Sienna didn't argue. She was too tired. The guest room was small, but clean. A single window overlooked the backyard. On the dresser sat a framed photo, Grayson holding a newborn Lily, exhausted but beaming. She stared at it for a long moment. What kind of man sells his truck to save his daughter? The kind worth pretending for. Sienna woke to silence. The house was still. Moonlight streamed through the curtains. She sat up slowly, disoriented, then noticed something. A shadow at her door. Her pulse spiked, then settled. On the floor, just outside her bedroom, sat Bun Bun, the stuffed rabbit, placed carefully upright, facing her door like a tiny guardian. Sienna's throat tightened. She picked it up. The fur was matted, one ear was slightly torn. It smelled faintly of strawberry shampoo. Lily's peace offering.
She hugged it against her chest and sat there in the dark, heart pounding. Don't fall in love with my daughter. Too late.
The next 2 days blurred into a rhythm Sienna hadn't expected. Morning pancakes, school drop-offs, bedtime stories where she learned to do voices for every character because Lily's eyes lit up when she did. The little girl still didn't speak to her, not really, but she watched, constantly. Every time Sienna moved, Lily's gaze followed. Every time she laughed at something Grayson said, Lily leaned a little closer. It was like being studied by a tiny, cautious scientist. By day 3, Sienna caught herself humming while making lunch. She stopped, startled. When had this started feeling normal? That afternoon, Grayson ran errands. Sienna was alone in the house with Lily, who colored quietly at the kitchen table. Sienna noticed a closet door slightly ajar. She shouldn't have opened it. Inside sat a cardboard box overflowing with documents, legal papers, court filings. She pulled one out. Petition for full custody, Victoria Ashford Grant versus Grayson Cole. Full custody, not shared, full. Her eyes scanned faster. The respondent demonstrates emotional instability and an inability to provide a structured environment. Lies, all of it. You're not supposed to see that. Sienna spun. Grayson stood in the doorway, grocery bags in hand. His expression was unreadable. I wasn't snooping. The door was open. It's fine. He set the bags down heavily. You'd find out anyway. Sienna held up the document. She's claiming you're unstable? Grayson, that's her strategy. He leaned against the counter, suddenly looking 10 years older. Paint me as a mess. Say Lily needs a real family. Never mind that Victoria didn't look at her for 2 years. This is insane. There has to be something. There isn't. His voice cracked. I've tried. I've begged. I've called every lawyer in the city. They all say the same thing. She has resources. I don't. Silence hung between them. Then, quieter, Grayson continued. When she left, Lily was 2. She told her... She stopped, swallowed. She told Lily, Mommy's going somewhere better. Just like that. Then walked out. Sienna felt sick. Lily waited by that window every single day. For 3 weeks. I didn't know how to tell her that better meant without us. The kitchen was too quiet. Then, a small sound. Sienna looked down. Lily stood beside her. When had she moved? How much had she heard? The little girl didn't speak. She just reached up and slipped her tiny hand into Sienna's. Sienna's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She looked up at Grayson. He was staring at their joined hands, and there it was, in his eyes. Fear. Not of losing the case. Of this. Of her.
Day 4. The social worker arrived at exactly 10 a.m. Mrs. Thornton was a soft-spoken woman in her 60s with silver-streaked hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She smiled warmly, but her eyes missed nothing. Mr. Cole, thank you for having me. She glanced at Sienna. And you must be the fiancé. Sienna extended her hand. Steady. Practiced. Sienna Brooks, it's nice to meet you. The next hour was a performance. Sienna and Grayson moved around each other like they'd done this for years. Subtle touches, shared glances, a hand on the small of her back as he poured coffee. Mrs. Thornton watched, made notes, asked about routines, meals, bedtimes. Grayson answered everything calmly. Sienna filled in the gaps. Then Mrs. Thornton turned to Lily. Hello, sweetheart. Can I ask you some questions? Lily sat frozen on the couch. Bun clutched to her chest. Her eyes darted to Sienna, then Grayson, then back to the floor. She didn't speak. Mrs. Thornton tried again, softer. What do you like to do for fun, Lily? Nothing. Do you like your school? Silence. Grayson's jaw tightened. Sienna could see the panic building behind his eyes. If Lily wouldn't engage.
Then, without warning, Lily spoke. "This is Sienna." Everyone froze. The little girl's voice was small but clear. "She reads me the bunny story. She doesn't skip pages like Daddy does." Grayson blinked. Sienna's throat closed. Lily looked up at Mrs. Thornton with those huge, serious eyes. "She's my mommy now." The room went completely still. Mrs. Thornton glanced between them. A slow smile crossed her face. She made a note in her folder. "Well," she said gently, "that's wonderful, sweetheart." She finished her questions, shook hands, walked to the door. "You'll hear from us within the week. One last look at Lily. You have a lovely home." The door clicked shut. Silence. Sienna exhaled. Her hands were shaking. Then she turned to Grayson, and her relief evaporated. His expression was stone cold. That wasn't supposed to happen. "Sienna, Grayson, you called her your mother." His voice was low, dangerous. "Do you understand what that means? When this ends, when you leave, she'll think she lost her mom again." Sienna stepped toward him. "I didn't plan." "It doesn't matter." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "I told you, one rule, one." Lily was staring at them, confused, eyes filling with tears. Sienna knelt and pulled her close. "Hey, it's okay. Daddy's not mad at you." Over Lily's head, she met Grayson's eyes. He looked destroyed, because he knew the truth. They both did. This wasn't pretend anymore. And when it ended, someone was going to break. Day 5 started quietly. Too quietly. Sienna stood at the kitchen sink washing breakfast dishes while Lily drew at the table. Grayson had stepped out to grab groceries. The house felt peaceful. Then the doorbell rang. Sienna dried her hands, crossed to the door, opened it, and froze. The woman on the porch looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Ice blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon, cream-colored blazer, heels that clicked against the concrete like punctuation marks. She smiled, all teeth, no warmth. "You must be the new one." Sienna straightened. "Can I help you?" "I'm Victoria." She tilted her head, studying Sienna like she was examining a stain. "Lily's mother." The words landed like a slap. Victoria didn't wait for an invitation. She stepped past Sienna into the house, her perfume trailing behind, something floral and suffocating. "Charming," she murmured, glancing around. "Grayson always did have modest taste." Sienna closed the door slowly, kept her voice steady. "He's not here. I'm not here for him." Victoria's gaze landed on Lily. The little girl had gone rigid at the table. Her crayon hung frozen mid-stroke. Bun was clutched so tight her knuckles were white. Victoria crouched down, that plastic smile widened. "Hello, baby girl. Mommy's here." Lily didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. "Come give me a hug," she cooed. "Don't you miss me?" Nothing. Victoria's smile flickered just for a second. Then she straightened, brushing invisible dust from her blazer. She was always shy. Her eyes cut to Sienna. "So, you're the fiancé. How long has that been going on?" "Long enough." Victoria circled closer. "Funny, Grayson never mentioned you, not once in our correspondence." She stopped inches away, lowered her voice. "Tell me, what's he paying you?" Sienna's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "Oh, please, I know my ex-husband. He can barely afford the mortgage. You're not here for love." That serpentine smile returned. "So what is it? Money? Somewhere to stay? A green card?" "You don't know anything about me." "I know desperation when I see it. And, sweetheart, it's written all over you." The front door opened. Grayson stood in the doorway, grocery bags in hand. His expression hardened the instant he saw Victoria. "What are you doing here?" Victoria turned slowly, elegantly, like a predator who'd already won. Visiting my daughter, is that a crime? You're supposed to go through the lawyers. Lawyers are so impersonal, she waved a manicured hand. I thought we could discuss this like adults, unless you're afraid. Grayson set the bags down. His voice dropped to ice. Say what you came to say, then leave. Victoria stepped closer to him, close enough to whisper. You think this little performance will save you? The fake fiancé, the happy family act? Her lips curled. I have lawyers you can't afford to look at. This ends one way, Grayson, with Lily where she belongs. She belongs here. She belongs with her mother. A small sound cut through the tension. Everyone turned. Lily had slipped off her chair. She stood trembling in the middle of the kitchen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Then she ran, straight past Victoria, past her outstretched arms, past the woman who'd given birth to her. She crashed into Sienna's legs and clung tight, burying her face against her hip. Victoria's smile didn't waver, but her eyes, they turned to ice. Enjoy this while it lasts, both of you. The door slammed behind her. Sienna sank to her knees and pulled Lily close. The little girl was shaking, sobbing silently. Over her head, Sienna met Grayson's eyes. He looked like a man watching his world burn.
Lily cried herself to sleep that night. Sienna stayed beside her bed until her breathing slowed, until Bun Bun was tucked safely under her arm, until the tear tracks on her cheeks dried. Then she crept downstairs. Grayson sat on the back porch. A single light illuminated him from behind. He held a beer he hadn't touched, staring at nothing. Sienna lowered herself onto the step beside him. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Grayson broke the silence. I thought I loved her once. Sienna waited. Victoria was magnetic, confident. She walked into every room like she owned it. He laughed bitterly. I was 24, working construction. She was finishing law school. I thought I'd won the lottery. He took a long sip, set the bottle down. It took me 3 years to realize she didn't want a husband. She wanted a project, someone to fix, to mold. His jaw tightened. And when Lily came along, when things got hard and messy and real, she checked out. She had an affair? Grayson nodded slowly. His name is Preston Calloway. Old money, political ambitions. He made her feel like she deserved more than this. He gestured at the house. More than us. Sienna's chest ached. She left in the middle of the night. Didn't even say goodbye to Lily. Just left a note on the counter. I need to find myself. That's what it said. Like our daughter was just an obstacle. And now she wants her back? No. Grayson turned to face her. His eyes were red-rimmed. Preston is running for city council. Family values platform. He needs the optics. A beautiful wife. A photogenic child. He paused. Lily isn't her daughter. She's a campaign prop. Sienna felt sick. I found emails on a shared server. Victoria forgot to log out once, years ago. I still have access. He pulled out his phone, scrolled, handed it to her. Sienna read. The custody hearing is next week. Once we have Lily, we can control the narrative. A few photo ops, maybe a magazine spread. After the election, we can revisit the arrangement. And the reply from Preston. Perfect. She's temporary leverage, nothing more. Sienna's hands trembled. Temporary leverage, she whispered. That's my daughter. Grayson's voice broke. That's my little girl, and they're treating her like a chess piece. He dropped his head into his hands. His shoulders shook. Sienna had never seen a man look so broken. She reached out, placed her hand over his. Hey, her voice was firm, steady. Look at me. He did.
eyes wet, vulnerable, terrified. "I'm not going anywhere," she said quietly. "This isn't pretend anymore. I'm going to help you fight." Something shifted in his expression. The fear didn't disappear, but something else joined it. Hope. And something more dangerous. He looked at her like he hadn't let himself look at anyone in years. Like maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe. If this story is hitting you in the chest, you're not alone. Drop a like. Let me know you're still here.
Day 6. The calm before the storm. Sienna woke early and found a manila envelope shoved under the front door. No return address, no postage. Hand delivered. She opened it slowly. Her stomach dropped. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Sienna arriving at the house, Sienna at school pickup, Sienna walking Lily through the park, and clipped to the top a typed note. A revolving door of strange women around his daughter, unstable, unfit. Thank you for proving our case. Victoria's strategy clicked into place. Sienna wasn't helping Grayson, she was the weapon being used against him. Grayson found her in the kitchen, pale-faced, the photographs spread across the table. He took one look, his expression went dark. When did these come? This morning. He snatched the note, read it, crumpled it in his fist. They've been watching us. His voice was barely controlled. Since day 1, this was their plan the whole time. Sienna shook her head. I don't understand. They can't just... They can, and they will. He started pacing. In court, they'll paint me as reckless, irresponsible, a man who brings random women around his daughter. He stopped, looked at her. You need to leave. What? Now, before the hearing. If you're gone, I can spin this, say it was temporary, that it didn't mean anything. Sienna stood. Grayson, I won't let them drag you into this. His voice cracked. You've done enough, more than I had any right to ask, but this isn't your fight. Like hell it isn't. She stepped toward him, grabbed his arm. I walked into this with my eyes open. I knew the risks, and I'm telling you I'm not running. Sienna, she chose me. Her voice shook. Lily chose me. Do you understand what that means? She looked at her own mother and ran the other way. She called me her mom. I can't just... She stopped. A small sound behind them. They turned. Lily stood in the doorway. Her face was pale. Her eyes were locked on the open suitcase by the stairs, Sienna's suitcase, half packed from where Grayson had started to remove her things. Her lip trembled. You're leaving? Sienna's heart shattered. Sweetheart, you promised. Lily's voice cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You promised you wouldn't leave like she did. Sienna crossed the room in 3 steps, dropped to her knees, pulled Lily into her arms. I'm not leaving, she whispered fiercely. I'm not. I promise. Lily sobbed against her shoulder. Her tiny hands clutched Sienna's shirt like she was afraid to let go. Over her head, Sienna met Grayson's eyes. Grayson stood frozen, wrecked. Sienna held his gaze. I'm not going anywhere. Then she stood, lifted Lily into her arms, and walked past him. She unpacked her bag. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and anxiety. Sienna sat in the gallery, her hands clasped tight in her lap. Beside her, Mrs. Thornton observed quietly, her folder balanced on her knee. At the front table, Grayson sat alone. No lawyer, just him and a stack of documents he'd organized himself. Across the aisle, Victoria sat flanked by 2 attorneys in designer suits. Preston Calloway was positioned behind her, silver-haired, square-jawed, already practicing his campaign smile. They looked like a magazine cover. Grayson looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. The judge, a stern-faced woman named Judge Alderman, called the proceedings to order. Victoria's lead attorney stood first, slick, polished, surgical. Your Honor, my client seeks full custody of the minor child. Mr. Cole has demonstrated a pattern of emotional instability, inconsistent caregiving, and poor judgment, including bringing a stranger into the home mere days before this hearing. He gestured toward Sienna. This woman, by Mr. Cole's own admission, was unknown to the family until last week. She now lives in the home, sleeps under the same roof as the child. This is not the behavior of a stable parent. Grayson stood. His voice was steady, but Sienna could see his hands trembling. Your Honor, Sienna Brooks is my fiancée. We've known each other for months. She has been a positive influence on my daughter's life. The attorney smiled. Can you provide any evidence of this months-long relationship? Photographs, witnesses, receipts from dates? Silence. No, because this arrangement began last week, didn't it, Mr. Cole, when you realized you needed a woman, any woman, to create the appearance of stability? Grayson's jaw tightened. He had no answer. Sienna couldn't breathe. They were going to lose. She could see it. The judge's expression was skeptical. Victoria was smiling. Before she knew what she was doing, Sienna stood. Your Honor, I'd like to testify. The courtroom went silent. Judge Alderman studied her. You're not on the witness list. I understand, but I have relevant testimony and evidence. A long pause. I'll allow it, briefly. Sienna walked to the stand. Her legs felt like water. She sat, raised her right hand, and told the truth. I've spent the last week in that house. I've watched Grayson Cole check on his daughter 5 times every night. I've watched him make pancakes in the shape of rabbits because it's the only thing that makes her smile. I've watched him cry silently in the hallway when he thinks no one's looking. Her voice strengthened. And I've watched Victoria Ashford Grant walk into that home and treat her daughter like a stranger. Lily didn't run to her, she ran away. She hid behind me, someone she barely knew, because even a stranger felt safer than her own mother. Victoria's smile faltered. But that's not all. Sienna pulled out her phone. I have text messages between Mrs. Ashford Grant and her fiancé. Messages where they discuss Lily as, and I quote, temporary leverage. Gasps rippled through the gallery. They don't want custody because they love her. They want her for photo opportunities, for the campaign. And once the election is over, they plan to revisit the arrangement. She looked directly at Victoria. Their words, not mine. Victoria stood. This is outrageous. Those messages were obtained illegally. Sit down, Mrs. Ashford Grant. The judge's voice was ice. Victoria sat. The judge turned to Sienna. Can you submit these messages into evidence? Yes, Your Honor. A long silence. The judge made notes, then looked up. We'll take a 30-minute recess. The gavel fell. Sienna stepped down. Her knees buckled slightly. Grayson was staring at her, like she'd just moved mountains. The recess lasted an eternity. Sienna sat beside Grayson on a bench outside the courtroom. Neither spoke. His hand found hers, tentative at first, then firm. She didn't let go. When the bailiff called them back, Sienna's heart was pounding so loud she was certain the whole room could hear it. Judge Alderman took her seat, shuffled papers. The silence was suffocating. Finally, she spoke. I've reviewed the testimony, the evidence, and the home study conducted by Mrs. Thornton. She looked at Victoria. Mrs. Ashford Grant, the messages submitted to this court are deeply troubling. Referring to your own child as leverage is not the language of a loving mother. It's the language of a strategist. Victoria's face went pale. Furthermore, the home study indicates that Lily has made significant emotional progress in recent weeks, progress attributed directly to the stable environment provided by her father and his partner. Partner, not stranger, not an arrangement. Partner.
Based on all evidence presented, I am denying the petition for full custody. Sienna stopped breathing. Mr. Cole will retain primary custody. Mrs. Ashford Grant will be granted supervised visitation contingent on the child's consent. The gavel fell. It was over. Outside the courthouse, the afternoon sun felt impossibly bright. Lily sat on Grayson's hip, her arms wrapped around his neck, bun dangling from her fingers. She hadn't stopped smiling since they walked out. Grayson set her down gently, turned to Sienna. For a long moment, he just looked at her. The deal was 1 week. Sienna nodded slowly. It was. You were supposed to disappear. No goodbyes, no looking back. I remember. He stepped closer. His voice dropped. I had one condition. Don't fall in love with my daughter. A pause. You broke it on day 1. Sienna's eyes burned. I know. Good. He reached up, cupped her face in his hands. Because I broke it too. Her heart stopped. Stay, he whispered. Not pretend. Real. Before she could answer, a small hand tugged at her sleeve. Sienna looked down. Lily stared up at her with those enormous, hopeful eyes, the same eyes that had asked her an impossible question just days ago. So, you're staying? For real? Not pretend? Sienna knelt down, took Lily's hands in hers. For real, she whispered. Forever. Lily's smile could have lit the entire city. She threw her arms around Sienna's neck. Grayson wrapped them both in his arms, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. 3 months later. The refrigerator in the Cole kitchen had seen a lot of artwork. Crayon suns, lopsided rainbows, a truly ambitious attempt at drawing Bun that looked more like a potato with ears. But the newest edition was different. 3 stick figures holding hands, 1 tall with dark scribbled hair, 1 medium with yellow curls, 1 small with a purple dress and a giant smile. Labeled in wobbly letters, Daddy, Mommy, Me. Sienna stood in front of it, coffee mug in hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. Grayson appeared behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, kissed her shoulder. She made that this morning, he murmured. Said it was for the forever wall. Sienna laughed through her tears. Forever wall? Her words. He turned her around, brushed a tear from her cheek. Guess you're stuck with us now. Sienna smiled, pulled him close. Guess I am. From the living room, Lily's voice rang out. Mommy, Daddy, Bun wants pancakes. They both laughed, and together, finally, truly together, they walked towards the sound of home. If this story made you feel something, joy, tears, hope, subscribe to Soul Tales so you never miss another story like this. We're building something special here, and you're part of it now.